What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by the Real Estate Cheat Code. I have Karen Disbrow with us from Hanna. Karen, thanks so much for jumping on here and taking time out of your day to share your story.
Of course. You're welcome.
Well, I'm pumped. Every time I get to interview an agent, I personally get to learn, right? And I think that's one of the things with a successful real estate agent. Those that have listened to the podcast in the past, know that we're always searching for more. And I'm excited for this conversation because I'm going to learn from you, Karen, of, just your journey into the business and how you got things rolling. But before we get to that, we always start about growing up. What was life like for you as a child?
I had a great childhood. I have two older brothers. So, was kind of a tomboy a little bit, playing with my oldest brothers. My dad, my mom and dad met in Akron. My dad was a football player for Akron U, and my mom was a cheerleader. And my dad really came from nothing and became very successful as a business owner later in life. And, he went to school nights or days and worked nights with, when he started his family and, went through a lot of struggles, but he ended up owning an office equipment dealership for 20 years and retired very successfully from that business. So he was the salesperson of the business. He had a partner who handled all the details of the paperwork and all of that. Yeah. My dad was in sales. So I come from a line of salespeople. My brothers both worked for my father as salespeople. So I have it in my blood. Great childhood.
And are you, so did you grow up in Akron then?
I moved to Toledo actually when I was 9, because that's where my dad ended up buying the company. And I lived there in the Toledo area until like in 1998, I believe. Did not get into real estate. I got into real estate in 2006.
Okay.
Moved around a bit.
Yeah.
And that's another reason. Yeah. Moved around a bit after we left Toledo. So.
Now, did you work in the business, with your father, like growing up? Like, were you around? Like, what was that kind of family dynamic like? Because a lot of people outside looking in aren't necessarily comfortable with sales, right, or commission based. But sometimes if you grow up in that environment, it's just kind of natural. You said, it's in your blood, right? Being in sales. Yeah. Were you in the business, meaning around it?
I actually worked for my dad's company for 10 years. I did not, I was not in sales. I was in the office, doing accounts receivable by hand. We didn't even have computers at the time, so it goes way back. So I was not in sales. Both my brothers were in sales for my dad's company. I started, I worked one summer, I think it was my senior year in high school, part-time. And then I went to a 2-year college after I graduated and still worked for my dad part-time. And then when I graduated from college, I ended up working for him full-time for 10 years.
After, was that always the plan, the 2-year college, then going into the family business?
Well, I kind of followed in my mom's footsteps because she was an executive secretary. And so I kind of just went that route and became, a secretary, administrative assistant, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was doing accounting for my father.
Right.
Then my dad ended up selling the business and I went to work for another corporation as a administrative assistant.
Yeah, walk me through your career path there, right? Obviously, you go to the 2-year school, jump into the family business. You're there for a decade. What was that career path for you? And lead me up until you decided that I'm going to give real estate a shot.
Well, I had an opportunity to work part-time for a realtor in Toledo. If there's any people online from Toledo, they might recognize his name, Mark Cruz. He's a pretty heavy hitter in Toledo. And I worked for him for a couple years part-time. And I thought about getting my license back then, but I had two young children. And I know that there's a lot of evenings and weekends that you have to work in real estate. And I just didn't want to give up that time with my kids.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it. I didn't pursue it then. And it would be years later until I did. But I always thought about it. I always wanted to maybe do it. And in 2008, so I ended up getting licensed in 2006. I was working for OCLC, Online Computer Library Center in Dublin, as an administrative assistant. So let me back up. My ex-husband and I moved around quite a bit. So we moved from Toledo, and then we moved to Bellingham, Washington, and we were there for a couple years. And I worked for the school system part-time. And then we moved to Tennessee, and I really didn't work when I was in Tennessee. We were there for 2.5 years. I did get into photography and kind of did that as a hobby, but I was selling photography in Tennessee. And then we landed in Dublin, and that was in 2003. And, I had an opportunity to do whatever I wanted, because I wasn't working. And
Yeah.
I did end up getting the job at OCLC pretty quickly, but I still had that. I wanted to get into real estate in the back of my mind. So I started taking classes, and I got licensed in 2006. And, I would do it part-time. I'd be lucky if I did 5 transactions while I was working at OCLC, because
Yeah.
full-time job there. So you
Right.
can't do it part-time and expect to make a living at it.
Yeah.
So in 2008, I divorced, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I decided to take the Floyd Wickman program sales
Okay.
course. I had an opportunity to go part-time at OCLC so that I could take this Floyd Wickman program. And after I was done with that program, I said, okay, if I can do 12 transactions working part-time at OCLC in a year, I'm going to quit OCLC. And I did it. So wonderful program, by the way. If you have not done it, it's a wonderful program. And that kind of jump-started my career, because they forced you to do the hard things that you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And so, the next year I sold 24 houses, so it just
Yeah.
snowballed from there.
Yeah. I'm curious. So I want to kind of backtrack. You did a part-time job with an agent in Toledo. Did you know at that time, or maybe not, that at some point you wanted to get in, like, did you love real estate when you were doing the part-time?
I did. Yeah. I always thought it was something I would really enjoy.
Yeah.
So it was
And
always in the back of my mind.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like, it always looks great, social media, perception and all of those things. But then you see the behind the scenes stuff, right? Whether it's the paperwork, the prospecting, the following up,
And that
you know,
was back in the day when it was, they had the real estate books.
yeah,
They were
yeah,
just starting to computerize everything. And,
yeah.
but they still had the books.
So then you have this life event that happens, right? And it's kind of like that moment of like, okay, is this really what I want to do, or do I need to be doing something else? And you went and got your license, and you were doing it part-time. What year? 2008 is when
I
when did
divorced
you
in
do that?
2008. I was licensed in 06.
Right.
And my ex-husband was very supportive of me getting into real estate. And so, when I divorced, you you do what you have to do
Yeah.
to
Well,
survive. And so,
yeah. And think about that time, right? I mean, the market's crashing, right?
right.
We're going into the recession.
Yeah.
You
Not a
know,
bad time to get into real estate.
but again, I think a lot of people that think about getting into real estate, into whether it's good or bad or whatever, right? And the reason why I always ask people, did you have supporters? Did you have doubters? Some people use the doubters as fuel. Some people need more supporters to, love on them, right? To encourage them, all of those things. But, you throw in, everyone's losing their home and, the recession's happening and all of those things. And now leaving a career, we're trying to transition out of a career into a sales commission based industry that is not going in the right direction. It's actually going in the wrong direction. You leaned into coaching. How did you know to go and do the Floyd Wickman training? Did you
Well,
have
it
a
was
mentor?
offered. That was with HER at the time. I mean, Howard Hanna bought
Yep.
HER.
Yep.
So I haven't really moved brokerages. They just came in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just coaching in general, with Floyd
Oh, how
Wickman.
did I? Oh, yeah. Well, HER was offering it for free. And
Mm,
normally it would cost you like $1,000 to take this course. So
yeah.
I thought it was a no-brainer as long as I could uh, do it for no cost, and it worked with my schedule with my other job. And
Yeah.
fortunately, they were very flexible, and they knew I was doing this, so they were great. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't have that flexibility at my other job.
And that's what I was just going to say. I think a lot of times, if you're trying to transition into real estate, it can be super hard if it's a hard 9 to 5 or, a 9 to 6, and you don't
Yeah,
have some of that flexibility.
and they would let me, take off to go show a house or take care of real estate business. Would just make up the time or whatever. So they were really very
Yeah.
accommodating.
So your first year, now when you did your 12 transactions, was that 2006 or was that during
No,
the
I
recession?
didn't. I didn't go full time until I think it was 2013 was the
Okay.
first year I dove into it full time. So
Yep.
2012 would have been the year that I had done uh, 12 transactions working
Yeah.
part time at my other job.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I did 24 transactions.
Well, let's talk about that because you said, with that training, they make you do the hard things. What
Mhm.
was something, or maybe a couple of things that for you made a lasting impact, not only at that time to get your business up and going, but even still that you're using to today?
Well, during the program, they forced you to go visit, knock on for sale by owner doors, make the calls. I had to load, I'd start a database of all my contacts, and of
Yeah.
course, I'd only lived in the Columbus area for 3 years um, when I got licensed, so I didn't know that many people. I didn't have family here, so it
Mhm.
was a challenge at first. But I had my contacts at OCLC, and so I, started marketing to them. Started doing a mailing in my neighborhood, a newsletter in my neighborhood, and I'm telling you, I direct mail has been very successful for me, and I know a
Mm,
lot of people don't do that anymore.
yeah.
Um, but I sold over 60 homes in my old neighborhood due to direct mail.
Can we
So
um can we unpack that a little bit? Because I think in the 2 years that I've been doing this, I'm just kind of racking my brain. I think you might be the first agent that I've had on here that said direct mail,
oh, really?
to that level, right?
Uh-huh.
Because agents always ask me all the time, "Hey, what's the best way to get listings?" Okay, well, you got your traditional low hanging fruit, for sale by owners, expireds, and canceleds, right? But then you have farming,
Mhm.
and farming is one of those things that always sounds sexy and good and easy, but a lot of agents don't give it the time that it needs. They don't
Mhm.
have the capital that it needs, right, to show up consistently. Um, for you, why did you lean into farming and direct mail?
Um, I guess back then it wasn't like common to market on social media, and I wasn't comfortable calling strangers to try to get listings.
Yeah.
I still don't like doing that, honestly. I mean, some people are very, very comfortable making 100 calls a day. That's just not me. So
Hmm.
that was, an avenue that thought I'd try. And I didn't see results for probably a good year,
Mm-hmm.
but I was sending the newsletter, every other month at a minimum. Um, every time I sell a house, I send out just sold cards to all my past clients to keep my name in front of them. And honestly, the last probably 5 years of my business, it has been repeat clients because
Yeah.
they remember me. And I think a lot of agents fall where that comes into play. They don't market to their past clients, and their past clients forget about them. So
Yeah.
it's been
Think
very
about
effective for me.
Yeah, think about this. Like every time you go on a listing appointment and it wasn't your client, they used probably another agent to buy that house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is should not be the thing, right? That us as agents have to deal with. We should be staying in front of. Now, I'm curious. You mentioned that every time you sell a house, you send a postcard to your database, to your past clients. Doesn't matter location. It's just
Nope.
showing them you have another sold.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
for your neighborhood mailer, it's just a newsletter every other month.
Mm-hmm. With uh, information about what's sold
Yeah,
since the last newsletter, with a list of all the addresses and square footage and the list price, the sold price. They love that. They love to see that information, and they can get that information online, but to have it all in one concise newsletter,
yeah.
they like that information. So.
I just want to kind of unpack that a little bit for the audience. I mean, just think about it. Like a lot of us, I built my business on internet leads, right? So mailing and I'm going through this exercise now through my past clients. I'm one of those people that did not do a good job of staying in front of all of their past clients. I got repeat business and stuff, but it was because it was because I stayed in front of some of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you did 60, think about this, guys, 60 transactions just in her neighborhood over the course of her career.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Since
what,
2000, I probably started doing it consistently in probably 2012.
yeah. So 11 years, 11-ish years,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking 5 listings in your neighborhood,
And
right?
some of those were dual agencies,
Yeah.
so side
I
by
mean, think about
side.
that, five-ish, 7-ish a year just in your neighborhood. Think about not having to drive across town for that listing appointment or that buyer,
Right,
right?
yeah. And I
And
knew all the floor plans. I mean, I
yeah,
knew the neighborhood better than anybody.
talk about being a neighborhood expert. I hope you guys take it. And this is the beautiful thing about that. It's simple, right? Hey, it's a newsletter informing your neighbors of what's happening in the neighborhood, informing your database of sales and things that you're having right across the city, letting them know that you're still active in the business. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
With growing your business, kind of walk me through. I know you got in, you did 12 deals, right, and then you doubled. How did you think about growing? Like, lead me up to current day of just growing your business in general. Is it still the same stuff that you're focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, open houses. I still am a firm believer in open houses, picking up buyers and sometimes listings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, direct mail. I do advertise on social media. I just have not seen good results, and maybe I'm not doing it the way I'm supposed to. I don't know, but um, so yeah, just keeping in touch and broadening my social circle, I
Yeah.
guess. Joined a golf league and just joining groups and getting to
Yeah.
know more people.
Well, you mentioned this early in the podcast. You realize that calling strangers and doing these other things weren't you, right? That's not who you are. When I talk to agents about getting into the business, I don't care what it is within the business, whether it's prospecting and phone calls and your approach to that, or how you want to grow your business. I truly believe you have to lean into your personality, and who you really are.
Mhm.
And you have to have that self-honest conversation of, okay, this is Jon, right? This is the areas that I'm good at. This is the areas that I'm comfortable, being in. And I can't worry about anything else. And that's why I do the Tell Me More podcast and I bring agents on to share their journey, because I don't want agents to think that they have to go and do direct mail, or they have to go and call internet leads, or they have to go and door knock and or call for sale by owners if they in order for them to be successful. You can be successful in anything that you do within real estate as long as you're consistent and true to who you are.
Yeah, I think consistency is very important, especially for direct mail.
And with setting yourself up for success, right? Like if you're doing something that's in alignment to what you're comfortable with, well, you're probably going to show up more often than not, right?
Mhm.
And for
Right,
you, probably putting the newsletter together, being a figure in the neighborhood, all of those things was a little bit easier for you than hitting an internet lead or doing social media or whatever the case may
right.
be. So I hope you guys understand, like, as we bring people on, it all works. You got to be true to who you are and what you're going to show up and be the most consistent.
And try it all. I mean, when you're first new, I would try it all and see what you're comfortable doing.
Yeah. Did you have any struggles in the business, or was it
Um,
kind of just
well,
a,
I mean, this was more of a personal struggle than a career struggle, but my mom and dad were having health issues and they lived in Tennessee. And so, I kept having to go back and forth to Tennessee to help them. And I had to put my license in escrow for a year
mm,
because it just wasn't, I couldn't work the business. I
yeah,
had to be down in Tennessee too much that year.
yeah,
So that was a struggle. And, that hurt. Um, when you're not actively marketing and doing the things you need to do to grow your business, it's not going to grow.
yeah,
Um, so that was a struggle. That was probably in 2000. That might have been 2012 because I actually bought my house in 2012, and I had a friend who was an agent had to do the transaction for me because my license was in escrow. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, that was, and then COVID hit, and that hurt my business some because I have a lung condition and I was scared and I just kind of shut down for like 3 months and
Yeah.
um, didn't really
Yeah.
do much of anything, and that hurt my business too that year. So
How did you go about, I'll use the word reintroducing yourself after those breaks? There's a lot of things that, because real estate's not the first career choice for the majority of people, right?
mhm,
A lot of agents that I see coming into the business, they struggle with that transition process, the identity change, from your sphere knowing you as what you used to do versus what you're now doing, right, as a real estate agent.
mhm.
How did you go about, because I think this can apply to transitioning in, or in your case, right, coming back to the business. How did you go about reintroducing yourself to your sphere?
Um, I don't know that I did. I just, I kept doing the things I needed to do, open
Yeah,
houses, direct
yeah,
mail, just got back into it. And um, now transitioning from my previous job to real estate, um, I sent a letter out to everybody I knew, introducing myself, and I'm telling them that I was in the real estate business. So I
yeah,
think that's important if you're new to the business to don't be a secret agent. Let everybody know, everybody you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Do you have any strategy? I mean, some that might scare people, right? Like,
Really?
you know, and obviously you've been around sales, so you probably have some of that. You said in your blood, right? That may not be one of your fears, but like, just reaching out to your sphere to let them know that I'm in real estate. Like some agents, that freezes them a little bit, right? They're like, well, I don't
Mhm.
want them to feel like I'm pushy, I'm salesy, I'm whatever. But you said it perfectly. You can't be a secret agent and
Right.
expect business.
Mhm. Yeah, because
Um,
everybody the struggle, I think one of the biggest struggles is there's so many realtors in Central Ohio, and everybody knows somebody that's a realtor. So
Yeah.
it's hard to compete with so many
Yeah.
people in the business.
Yeah.
But, 20% of the realtors make 80% of the money, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of realtors
That's
out there that aren't performing. So,
that's true. That's
mhm.
true. Karen, I want to kind of switch gears and kind of look into the future of real estate and your business. What's something that you're focusing on that you're looking to accomplish here in the next 12 months?
Well, I'm in the process of packing up my office here in Dublin, as a matter of fact, as we speak. And I'm moving to the Upper Arlington office because I moved to Upper Arlington 2 years ago. And I've still been driving back and forth, and I can literally walk to the Upper Arlington office. So my goal is to start, getting into the Upper Arlington market more than the Dublin market, and try
You
to.
are you gonna go after the same approach?
I have started mailing in my
Yeah,
area, yes.
good.
Um, sent them a little calendar with my business card to stick on their refrigerator over Christmas, and, starting to market that area.
Yeah.
It's
What's
gonna be a tough market to crack, I think, because there's been a lot of agents that have been in that area for many, many years that
yeah, yeah.
so
It's one of the things, the great challenges with farming, right, is really understanding neighborhoods, really understanding where the opportunities may be, understanding, who's your competition,
Mhm.
really. And here's from an agent standpoint, studying the competition, right? What are they offering? What are they not offering? How can I be different? How do I stand,
Yeah.
can I do something that provides a unique experience,
Yeah,
that
and
maybe they're not.
that's one of my goals too, is to, like, refresh my listing presentation
Mhm.
and, just, um, offer maybe, different services for different commission rates, or,
Yeah.
things like that. Because with this buyer agency lawsuit going on, this lawsuit with NAR, I think it's more important than ever to justify what you do,
Yeah.
and your income, your commission.
And
So,
justify it and explaining it, articulating it in a way that they see the value,
right.
right? It's not just this is what we do. It's this is what we do, and here's why we do it, and here's why it's a benefit to you as the homeowner or you as the buyer, right? In this
Mhm.
scenario. Karen, what's a 5-year goal for you?
Well, I'm not too far from retirement age, so, 5 years, I don't wanna be working full-time in real estate, but I'll probably always keep my license. Um, so kinda wind down a little bit, but stay in the business, um, to subsidize my Social Security or whatever, um, and travel more in 5 years. That's really my goal.
I got to ask you
But
for
I'll keep my license, and,
sure.
if people call me and wanna list or buy, I'll help them out for sure.
Yeah. For traveling more, do you have a bucket list of places you want to visit?
Well, I'm going to Italy in August, or September.
Nice.
Um, would love to go to Greece someday. Would love to go to Hawaii, um, you know, wherever.
That's awesome. I always talk to agents. Like for me, real estate wasn't always chasing the most money. It was the lifestyle that it could provide, in the
Mhm.
sense of the freedom and the flexibility. And, I just love experiences. And to me, an experience is, you know, as small as a happy hour or a lunch with someone to traveling, right? Like my
Mhm.
goal was always 4 to 6 trips every single year. Like that. That's why I do real estate, right? Is
Mhm.
4 to 6 trips every single year. So I love that that's going to be on your 5-year plan of getting out there and seeing
Yep.
seeing the world.
Mhm. Yep. And I love what
What?
I do for a living. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wish I would
What's
have gotten to real estate, a lot sooner than I did, but
I mean, most of us do, right? Like I wish I didn't go to college and just got into real estate.
yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
um,
Yeah. Imagine where we'd be today, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. What's a legacy goal for you? What's a goal that you kind of want to hit when you're no longer here?
just that people think of me and think of somebody that was kind and honest and fun. And,
Yeah.
they think highly of me after I'm gone.
Yeah, I love that. Last question for you, Karen, and it's if you could give our audience one piece of advice, maybe it was something that you received, maybe it's something that you give out now to agents when they ask you, what would that be?
Take a sales course like the Floyd Wickman program or whatever. There's others out there. Take a sales course after you get your license, because the classes you take at Hondros don't teach you how to sell real estate. So that would be my one piece of advice.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that's where a lot of agents miss is the training side of things. The
Mm-hmm.
sales. I always say real estate's not sales, it's advising, but there are components of sales.
Right.
There are moments of time when you have to be skilled on sales and how that works. So I love that. Spot on. Karen, thanks again for jumping on here with me, taking time out of your day to share with our audience. Those that are watching right now, Karen's phone number and her website's down below. If you guys are looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate here in Central Ohio, please reach out to Karen. If you connected with her story, if you're in UA, she's trying to build UA, go hit her up. If you guys are a real estate agent and you just want to pick her brain on things, just based off of direct mail, right? And what she's doing, please reach out to her. She's here to help. And Karen, but for those that are listening in, onto the audio version, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
They can call me at 614-218-8861. They can go to my website, www.karendisbrow.com, or they can email me, karendisbrow@howardhanna.com.
I love it. Karen, thanks so much again. If I can do anything for you this year, please reach out to me. I'm here to help you any way I can.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.